Welcome to the first entry of many, where we venture through a new world-building project. Today's topic: what is the Genesis Era? Set within the real world, a brutal ground conflict among nations has erupted in the year 2025, featuring NATO against common Axis powers like Russia and China. However, as Western powers were nearing collapse, NATO came forward in 2029 when the conflict was also dying down. They unified the surviving Allied forces and created a mega power. A force so great that it shattered the entire war itself and brought upon its end. Axis powers fizzled away and regrouped with the larger ideal presented by this greater body that NATO has put together. This is what ended the global-scale war conflict, starting in 2025 and ceasing in 2029. As time marched near 2030, the Earth was more cooperative than ever. More people have single goals in mind, which led to greater advancements. One of these great advancements was the formation of the United Sons, created and led by top NATO officials with great political power. One of these individuals was Meka Zwei, casted as the Supreme Director of the United Sons itself. The United Sons practically held control of Earth, managing peace and rebuilding operations, as well as resource availability and how they are spent and handled. Humanity was thriving in this new age, but more questions were held to the United Sons as they began to look up to the stars. A major chance is shown to them, the next frontier of the human species. Further back in time in 2005, a concealed military group known as the Private Arms Formation would be formed. And during the later year of 2029, they were approached by the United Sons. The United Sons lacked a proper military, as all technology from the global-scale war conflict was quickly abandoned and left behind, with the world focusing on rebuilding and holding peace. With how the Private Arms Formation, or PAF, focused on developing next-generation technology and survived the GSW conflict, Meka Zwei offered them to merge under the United Sons and become their designated military, and by late 2029, the PAF is now a branch of the United Sons. The United Sons supplied the PAF with contracts in regards to a specific project, the Epoch Plan. This plan was to take the next step as humanity entered the 2030s, mainly dealing with technology greater than anything on Earth. This led to the creation of prototype space shuttles capable of constant engine propulsion, managed by the PAF. It was clear that the first goal in mind was to establish operations on the Moon and later the entire solar system. With the Epoch Plan, it would be the catalyst for something greater, and between the transition of 2029 to 2030, Meka Zwei held a massive ceremony and declared humanity officially entering the Genesis Era. This is a new calendar time, a new way to adapt as the largest moment in history is underway: space colonization. Now, the first years of the Genesis Era are the true gold age of this movement. More contracts being placed on the PAF as they are paid, being the pioneer for the future of their species. The Moon is reached by mid-2032. A massive base known as Struve Lunar Base is established on lunar soil. This links the Earth and Moon, boosting communication systems while also speeding up the process of the Epoch Plan. However, after a majority of the Moon was then being operated, questions rose again on what role the other celestial bodies in the solar system shall take. The United Sons has decided to use the prototype space stations present around the Moon and take them to Mars. They then reached the Red Planet in 2034. Ground operations are slowly established on Mars, establishing a link between it and Earth. This was a massive achievement, and with leftover resources from Mars operations, the PAF took Phobos, a moon of Mars, in order to monitor all future operations within the solar system. However, control began to linger as the United Sons and Private Arms Formation did not have unlimited personnel, so it was decided that a new governing body would take over Mars. That decision was a heavy one, but it led to the formation of the Alpha Combine in 2035. They are right under the United Sons and PAF, acting as the very first planetary governor. It was part of the Epoch Plan for the United Sons to operate with other governors who held control of their own planet, but laws created by the United Sons still apply to everyone and everything. This system did eventually work out, yet a few limits are in place, as a planetary governor cannot develop their own military and could only work with resources given to them by their own planet or by the PAF. It was like old Earth structure, a country president and below being state governors. With this system established, over time the rest of the solar system is reached and colonized, with each planet now having a planetary governor. Every single one did something unique and different, offering many new jobs and other communities that residents could take part in. The structure of the Genesis era is as follows. Earth, the United Suns, with the PAF as another branch underneath. Mercury is governed by the Dryas Syndicate, focusing on industrial development. Venus, governed by the Orion Complex, who focus on terrestrial development, such as land vehicles that quickly became popular. Mars, especially, was governed by the Alpha Combine, focusing on architecture and many unique building designs. Jupiter, governed by the Beta Republic. They focused on particle research and are most famous for a planetary-scale particle accelerator, which led to new exciting discoveries that we will discuss in future episodes. Saturn was governed by Sirius D8, who focused on communication development, expanding the World Wide Web into the Solar Wide Web. Uranus was governed by Cypress Electronics, who were the PAF manufacturer, being a more business side of things. Neptune, lastly, was governed by Oberon P, focusing on hyper-advanced telescopes, which also led to new discoveries across the stars. Space colonies and other space stations orbit the gas giants, and harvesters exist closer to those larger planets in order to safely extract their gases and other minerals for future technological development. Everything is then established by 2039, future humans now being born in space and technological advancements settling into current times. However, as always, many questions are still left unanswered. What is there next? Will the United Suns expand beyond the known solar system, or will something completely different arise? Another shadow still lurks. But for now, this has been the introduction to the Genesis era, an age of recovery and expansion. The space age is upon humanity, but future stories will tell what happens next. Thank you for viewing this episode. Await the next one, and in the meantime, farewell. Why are you still here? Go check out the gaming channel, join the Discord, and buy the book. Okay, I go now.